It is my great pleasure and a great privilege to welcome this morning Neelie Kroes with Ben Verwaayen. Neelie is a fantastic woman. Not only she has been able to make me working on a very, very tough subject, which was about the digitization of the European cultural patrimoine, but she remained a good friend after that. Ben needs no introduction also. Neelie is the commissioner in charge of our world of tomorrow, which is digital and the digital agenda. And they have decided to make their conversation this morning in Dutch. So you can relax and you will have a Dutch conversation to start this morning. I would like to thank very much Neelie for having accepted this invitation and Ben for leading the conversation. Merci. Et puis, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Maurice. And what you meant to say is this will be a conversation in double Dutch. So, Neelie, good morning. It is remarkable in France to have a meeting at 8:30. So I'm happy that we got 10 minutes extra from Maurice, but 8:40 is still very good, and you draw an excellent crowd here. Let me first ask.
You promised me 6 croissants, but this is not 6 croissants. This is really
better.
An audience.
This is better.
Yeah.
So let me first ask, what's your job in Europe?
It is the most fascinating one you can imagine, but that is not a correct answer for, I know what you are waiting for. As you are aware, I was a commissioner for competition policy, and people were just saying when I got my second term, great that you got your second term, but poor you with a digital agenda in a portfolio. And it's all about innovation, and it's all about just getting a position for Europe. And I said, wait and see. And I'm absolutely certain after a year that with our digital agenda, we are trying to give the instruments together with all those who are involved, and that means the business world, governments, the member states, but also the society. So having said that, putting it together and just making it happen, that Europe is in a driver's seat on the global scene.
So if I'm not mistaken, you have formulated an ambitious goal for 2020. And for those in the audience who are not daily following what Europe is doing, could you tell us what's 2020 going to be?
The EU 2020 is the list to do for the European Commission and for the 27 member states, 27 members of the family, so to say, and it is about economic growth, it's about jobs, it's about education, it's about research and innovation, and it's about environmental issues and energy. And we made a list what has to be done. If you are looking over that list, then you badly need ICT, and it is indeed the instrument that is at stake where if you are filling in, you can come to the EU 2020, and that's the promise to the European population.
So would I be mistaken to say that in 2020 the ambition was to have every single European citizen connected to high-speed broadband access?
Well, we were even more challenging in our list to do. 2013, I made the commitment to the European people that 2013, every European digital. And I put it on a small card, and I was used to that in my former life when I was joining a couple of boards of multinationals. And we were used to have a small plastic card in our pocket or in our bag, where this is what we believe and this is what we have to do. So we made that card for my portfolio, and it is every European digital in 2013, but in 2015, every European indeed on 30 megabits, but even more progressive, 100 megabits for anyhow 50% of the population of Europe. So that is a challenging target, so to say, and it is printed, and I handed over to Parliament. That was a dangerous action. My Director General just warned me and said, are you really aware of what you are doing? And I said, yes, I am, and we are committed, and we are doing it together.
So you printed it, you didn't put it in digital form?
Of course, also. Yes, no doubt about that.
Right.
I will offer you the stick with the digital agenda, no doubt about that.
Excellent. Now, if you look to the instruments that you have, any politician has regulation, legislation, and taxation. But you think that the combination of regulation, legislation, taxation will bring this all about here in Europe?
I'm Dutch. I'm very pragmatic, and I'm very much aware that we have to give comfort to the parties who are involved in this. So I'm talking about the business world. I'm indeed talking about all those who are involved in the digital and in the society. And I'm aware that we badly need banks too to be involved in this process. That's not the real answer for your question. So regulation or legislation. I'm aware that at a certain moment for certain issues you need regulation. But I'm not the one who wants to regulate principles. That has no teeth. I am in favor for if regulation is needed, then it should be the practice that you are regulating, but together with the parties. For I'm also absolutely aware that at the end of the day, myself, as a commissioner, I shouldn't take over your seat in the industry. I shouldn't take over the seat of, for example, other colleagues of you. So my type of filling in my portfolio and my responsibility is inviting those people in the sector and try to come and listen to them and try to come to organizing the scene where they take their responsibility. And if it's not taken, okay, I will be, of course, not only willing, but also be able to take my responsibility.
But yesterday we had some passionate discussions about whether the internet should have any form of regulation, and wordings are very important here. But there was a passion in the audience to say what governments and supranational organizations should do is stay out of the way.
That is black and white.
Sure.
And sometimes it's tempting. But I think that in a certain issue, there needs to be absolutely awareness that there needs rules of the game. And that can be done by the parties in the game itself. But if it's not done in a way, for we are talking about a global issue. So internet is global. There are no borders, so to say. So we need to be aware also as a European Commission, we need to be aware that it doesn't make sense if we are just a fortress and making our own rules and making our own game, so to say. This type of activity is absolutely global. So we need to go with the OECD. And therefore I think this is a great initiative of the President of the Republic of France to put it on the G8 and put it later on the G20. But I have news. We are E27. And E27 is really something that can make a difference. For we have a single market. It's not perfect yet, but we have it. And it should be a digital single market. And then we should make our tone in the music too.
So that sounds terrific, but the reality is you have 2 feet on the ground. And on the ground you can regulate. But you have your head in the cloud. And in the cloud you can't regulate. And that's in one body. So there is this national part of it that you can try to put your arms around, but there is the intellectual part of it, which is wherever.
Ben, with all respect, the word national is old-fashioned. It is not anymore of today. Anyhow, it is European. but I would love to use the word global in this issue.
Are you sure that it's European? Because if I'm not mistaken, a lot of national regulation still is in place.
I'm aware that we are still not there, but one of the main issues of the European market, of the single market, is that there shouldn't be a border within the single market. And that is anyhow for this issue at stake.
So you would take your 27 regulators, get them on a principle of, if I understand you correctly, a minimum approach, only there where necessary, and then you would accept the global free nature of the internet?
I would love to have the national regulators, and that is in a very cooperative sense the case at the moment. I would love to have them and us together on the global scene with our point of view.
So some people yesterday also brought up and said, well, we have a talk shop, because now the G8 is going to talk about what can they really do. So if you would have a wish list for the G8, what would that be on this issue?
Take the issue seriously. It is for the first time that it is on the agenda of the G8. So I count my blessings. And it should stay on the agenda, and that means a big step forward. But it's always the same. Putting something on the agenda is one, but please implementation, and please give it a place in the daily activity of every member state that is at stake. And again, it's not only the G8, so that are a couple of parties, but it is the E27 too, and it is later on the G20.
So for the E27, how much is the social aspect, society at large, involved? Because we talk a lot about the commercial services and the business models, but how much do you think have we captured the imagination of policymakers to include digital services, e-health, e-government in general, e-learning? How much is that today impacted by what you're doing?
A couple of remarks as an answer. This is an horizontal portfolio that I have now the responsibility for.
So you have to interfere with every single of your colleagues?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
And some are more my friends than others, I can assure you. But all in all, they all accepted the digital agenda. So I just knock on the door when they are just trying to fly away. So it is connected with e-health, it is connected with e-education, e-government, e-energy, and name it. But having said that, that is also the great connection with the citizen. And I think that indeed, rightly mentioned, Ben, it's not only about the business, it's not only about government, it is about the citizen. It is about the society that is at stake. And there, if you allow me to say so, I'm sometimes fearing that governments, that even the Commission, is not completely aware that things are changing that much. I had a cup of coffee with one of those guys, in this case, no girl, but I also met the girls in that sector. I was asking the guy, could you give a thought, what is 3 years from now? And he started to laugh. And he said, no way. And I said, I'm serious. And it was the number one of eBay. I'm serious. I'm asking you a question, and I imagine that now and then your shareholders are asking that question too. And he said, it's absolutely impossible to think of 3 years from now. It is 3 months from now. And that is what I need, that statement, that within regulation or legislation, taking into account how long that takes, we are missing that in the meantime, before finalizing our activities in legislation or regulation, that we are missing what is moving and what is changing in the real world. And that is one of those issues that I'm absolutely fascinated by. How can we be more alert on that issue too? So it is about, at the end of the day, the people.
So over time you have built a reputation of being extraordinarily determined. Some people say stubborn. Once you have a goal in mind, that's where you go. That's where you're going. You have asked
that we have in common.
Could be. You've asked the industry to study the dilemmas in front of Europe. And the dilemmas are very simple. We have to find, let's say, a 300 billion 10-year investment plan that it makes sense for the investors to go and do. But some people argue and they say, well, you know, it's nice for her to ask, but actually she already knows what she wants. So how much listening is in there and how much is already fixed for you?
There is no conspiracy, not at all. I'm not sensitive for that type. I'm listening, and even if I have that reputation of being stubborn or whatever, I'm listening, and that is the advantage of my age, a long experience in life, and I'm absolutely 100% backing the attitude that you have to do it together with the team, and that was what is at stake, and therefore I invited the sector, so to say. And when we are mentioning that this is the future, and for Europe it's absolutely a must that we are investing in the infrastructure, in high-speed broadband and what have you. And when I'm making that line to every European digital, and they they deserve it to get to get that line. I can do it myself.
Girls' power, girls' power.
But if we are aware that if we are promising every European digital, then we need, and we are talking in terms of 300 billion, a bit less, euros in the coming years. Thanks heaven, not tomorrow, but spread over the couple of years ago. So we need all the parties together. And I'm absolutely certain that when in such type of discussions, it is to start with the responsibility of the sector itself. So please let me know how and in what form it can be done. And then I'm listening. And I'm listening also what is at stake. So I know that getting the attention and getting their backing for, at the end of the day, big investments, we need the bankers, we need the industry, we need the content providers, we need the broadcasters, and of course the telecom people. So I'm listening, but we are in a hurry, and it is indeed one of those moments that we have to realize if time is not our friend, if there is no solution, then we need to go for another target. But I'm not worrying that there shouldn't be a positive outcome at the end of the day, for I believe in win-win situations. And that, by the way, is my approach, inviting people out of the sector, making it possible that they come with their proposals. I just did it with cloud computing. We had a big event a day before yesterday with all those who are involved in the cloud computing, so the industry, the sector, but also the ones who are from the software and from the content. Just come over and make it clear what is at stake, and then we are listening and we are making our proposals.
Since you're listening, maybe it's a great idea to ask the audience whether there are some questions from the audience. I'm pretty sure there are microphones here. So is there anybody in the audience who wants to make a contribution right now? Okay, go ahead. Over there. If you can state your name, please.
Robert Lemay, conseiller informatique. Should I switch in English?
Robert Lemay, IT consultant.
Industry, some good practices.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right, that's a great answer. Over there.
Hello, Philippe Martineau from France. So I'm going to ask maybe a less consensual question. We all agree that the digital agenda is about jobs. And I'm going to focus my question a little bit more on SMEs, so small and medium enterprises. I think we all agree that SMEs are the job engine, job growth. SMEs account for 67% of the private employment in Europe. Research is badly needed for SMEs. Nevertheless, there is a fact that in the Framework Program 7, only 11% of the funding goes to SME. So are there any plans in the FP8 to change these figures? So maybe switching not from 11% to 67, but at least to a more reasonable number.
The shortest answer would be yes, but I owe you more than that. By the way, it's not only about jobs. It is about economic growth, and that's connected with jobs, but it's also connected with social issues. So it is, and then we are coming with e-health and e-education, digital literacy, and so on and so forth. For still, 27% of Europeans are not using internet, so that shouldn't be the case. That should be lower than that percentage. And I always say it's up to everybody himself to make up his mind, yes or no, for internet, but anyhow know what it is and know what the advantage is. When you are talking about the SMEs, it is, even when you are making the numbers in Europe, 99% of all the enterprises are SMEs, and sometimes we are not aware of that when we are making our policy. So it is main. If we are saying creating jobs, and especially talking about the EU 2020, then we should focus that it's, of course, also multinationals who are creating, or bigger enterprises who are creating the jobs, but main is small and medium-sized enterprises. That are the creators of jobs, and that are the creators of our economic growth. Having said that, it's fascinating what is at stake talking about research and innovation. It is, in most cases, starting in SMEs. I always say it is starting in the garage, and we should pamper that, and we should give it far more comfort. And it's not, and I had a very fascinating discussion with a couple of guys from Silicon Valley, and I was asking them, are European people less talented or less intellectual and less research-minded? And they all said, no, not at all. They are absolutely on the same level or even competing. But you are making a mistake, and then talking about Europe and the Commission, for example, you are making the mistake that you are not giving the comfort to come from research innovation to implementation and then make it possible. And then in most cases, if the implementation is there, then a great guy, girl from another part of the world is just making an offer and buying that initiative. That is not what we are looking for, of course, if that's the case. Come on. But we should give far more comfort. Then the funding. FP7, indeed, you have a point. It is sometimes a bit bureaucratic. It is sometimes a bit too much, and you need a special division within your company to find out how to come to the real source in Brussels. We had a discussion yesterday in the college about how can we simplify that type of the added value of Europe. And I can assure you, for the FP8, we are absolutely focusing on a simplified but also less bureaucratic and more focused on SME system.
Right, we can't wait for that one. Over there.
Hello, my name is Mike Butcher. I'm the editor of TechCrunch Europe. Thank you very much for your exposition today. What I would like to ask you is that Nicolas Sarkozy said yesterday that we're in the midst of a new industrial revolution. But are you not similar, in a sense, in your role, a little bit like the man who used to run in front of an automobile with a red flag in 1910 in order to stop progress and make cars go slower? And it's a concern to me that here in Europe we are tying our hands behind our back while platforms such as Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Salesforce, not just internet access, but platforms are running rings around European companies because they don't have any of the any similar kind of restrictions on them in the American system. And if you look at what's happening in Israel, Tel Aviv, Beirut, Istanbul, Russia, I've just been to Moscow, these emerging markets don't have any of the bureaucratic issues that we have and are creating new companies. And I'm just concerned that that's really putting a brake on our innovation in Europe. What's your view?
Let me start with making a dangerous remark, and that is that I don't agree with the President of the Republic of France when he is just mentioning that we are in the midst of an industrial revolution. I think it's not in the midst. It is a complete other cup of coffee, so to say. It is different from what we are used. It's different from what we had tackled so far, and it is asking for a different mindset and a creative, out-of-the-box thinking. And that is what I have asked those guys and girls in this industry to sit together and with a new business model come for solutions that we are touching upon. I'm not saying that we are there, so we are waiting. We are waiting with that project that is at stake, with the telecom, with the investment of the broadband investments and what's all linked to that. But we are also talking about the cloud issues and with a cloud strategy for Europe. So I'm not agreeing with you that we are not aware what is at stake. We are doing our utmost. And of course, it's up to you to say your speed is too slow and so on. By the way, it's inspiration today to speed up again. But we are aware that it is a complete new era where we are in. And we are also aware that it is all about competitiveness. And that was one of those issues. The Far East in cost and producing and try to tackle us. The Far West, so to say, content and services. And we are only buying the stuff. Then we are running out of what is really at stake with the EU 2020, talking about economic growth and talking about jobs. So we need to jump in, but not in the midst, but it is a complete new chapter that we are facing.
To be fair to the President, he didn't say industrial revolution, he said it was the third revolution, and okay. I think he agreed with you, so you're out of danger zone. I don't think you disagree with the President. Over there. And we have time for 2 more questions, so go ahead.
Hello, I'm Brian Message from the UK Music Managers Forum. We represent about 450 music managers who represent about 1,000 artists. In our country, the Digital Economy Act, which is, I suppose, the equivalent to the 3 strikes, is in trouble. And last week, Ian Hargreaves issued a report in support of better licensing within the UK. And I think us as a bunch of managers are very excited about this because it's an opportunity to change some of the mismanagement that's happened in the music industry over the last decade in the digital space. So I have a request for you, which is that as we get these opportunities, in particular with Hargreaves, which has a very European agenda, a European flavour, can you play a very proactive role in making sure that the traditional rights holders of labels and publishers don't kick it into the long grass and prevent actual change for better licensing so all of the younger entrepreneurs can have a better opportunity to use music properly? Thank you.
I'm grateful for your question, for it gives me the opportunity to explain also in this audience that I'm very much in favor for a decent remuneration for artists, creators, and what have you. And it is absolutely a must, so no misunderstanding about that. Is the system we are used to so far, is that the best system? In my opinion, it isn't. It is a system that is linked with the past. And with the digital single market, we need cross-border. I can't explain to someone outside this building that you can't buy a CD or you can't buy a movie or whatever because, and so on and so forth. I just say, please stop. I really can't. So what is at stake? And there, I sincerely hope that the technology is also coming over and giving a lot more of solutions than we have so far. For we are facing a very challenging issue, and that is one of the issues that the group of CEOs of the sector is facing, that it's not only about growth of voice, but it is talking about the growth of data. It will be a tremendous development. And having said that, for the telecom people, wants to have content in their pipes. They are aware that that is the best way to make the money out of it. Having said that, if you are talking about the content, if you are talking about audiovisual, for example, but also in your sector, then you need to have a good and excellent system in which those creators are getting their remuneration, but also it is in a way that at the end of the day, the user is having a user-friendly system in which he don't need to go for an illegal system. And sometimes we are discussing only the piracy. Come on, we need to beat the piracy. But to solve the problem, you should go to the heart of the matter. And that is what I'm really facing with. And if I'm allowed to say one more thing, Netflix is giving a great opportunity, and I'm not saying that that is it, but should we come to a European way of filling in what is at stake, user-friendly, giving the remuneration, but also be in time?
So we have 35 seconds left. So quickly, last question.
First, just to say that I think certainly the Hargreaves report is something that Yochai Benkler, Harvard University. Hargreaves report is certainly something we in the U.S. can learn from, and is an excellent and interesting piece of work in terms of the approach of permitting flow. I'd be curious, one more question of your advice to the G8 on how to think about to defining the agenda. From your own experience in working on open networks at the physical layer, competition in access, open standards, to what extent would it be appropriate for the G8, beyond just putting it on the agenda, to make a core commitment to an open, participatory, competitive internet as the broad regulatory structure at all layers of the net?
Fill in what you put on the agenda, make the implementation, come back to it, just invite also the civil society and the bankers, and then we will do our job in Brussels, I can assure you.
Well, was that? Thank you all very much. Thank you, Neelie. And I think that we can all agree that the challenge you had in your previous portfolio were diverse and deep. I don't think that these ones are anything less than that. So thank you all. Thank you very much.